Okay, so I think everyone is here, so I can start. So by starting this session, I would like to welcome you again, everyone, to the second session of the PhD in the Netherlands online series. My name is Fumita Sari as your moderator. I'm from Nuffic, Southeast Asia. Today we have a special guest from the University of Groningen. The speaker is Elok Dianike Malay. She is a PhD researcher for the Center for Internationalization of Education. So she's from the University of Groningen, but from specifically from campus Fryslân. So before we introduce her again, to invite her to the stage, I would like to show you a bit, introduce you to our organization. Yes, so this is her. If you've already seen her through the poster. Yeah, so about Nuffic. Nuffic is a Dutch organization based in the Netherlands, in The Hague. And we are actually a non-profit independent organization that is focused on education, so internationalization in education. We are funded by the Dutch government through the Ministry of Education, Culture, and Science. As a official organization in Indonesia, we have a couple of activities that we do to facilitate NL knowledge, where we collaborate with institutions in the Netherlands and Southeast Asia. We also support internationalization of education, where we promote study in the Netherlands, such as right now that we promote to study in the Netherlands through the PhD program. We also manage scholarship programs, support outgoing mobility in Indonesia, so we promote study in Indonesia as well. And lastly, we connect and support NL knowledge community, where alumni, but also Indonesians staying or Southeast Asian counterparts staying in the Netherlands who come back to their country, we still support them through our events. Yeah, so that's about our activities. Now, regarding pursuing PhD in the Netherlands, just to provide you a bit information regarding the program in the Netherlands. The duration itself, it's about 4 years. So it is in the form of normally in the form of contract, where we will get a salary from it, but sometimes you can also apply through a research proposal, which later on I will explain you a bit more. But basically, you have to write your own dissertation with a topic that you can, it could be from the professor, or you could also provide your own research topics. Other than that, the PhD is offered by research university. So you can only apply to certain universities in the Netherlands. And then you can also obtain some PhD information from the websites mentioned on the slides. One of them is academic transfer. On the next slide is I have a preview of the academic transfer, where you can actually go into their website, and then you can search yourself a job position that is currently available at a research university in the Netherlands. So you can just type in your interested or intended position at that university. For example, in the field of technology, you can just put it in, and then it will show which universities that currently offer that kind of or type of position. So here we also have information regarding criteria, as well as funding and tuition fees. This is basically for those who are who doesn't have sources of funding yet. So you do need to see first the criteria. These are the main admissions that you need to keep in mind. So your topic or your master's degree needs to be recognized, and then needs to be has the same background with the topic that you would like to pursue. So other than that, you need to have a good, really good or excellent English language. That will be where you have to take a test such as IELTS or TOEFL. And then other than that, if you want to find PhD funding, you do have some options here. There are three. The first one, whether it's employed by the PhD awarding institutions, that is, if there's a PhD position at the university, can always apply, and then you get a contract where you get a salary. The second one is a fellowship or a grant awarded by the supporting body. So that means you can find a source of funding from outside of the university, such as from the Indonesian government, or for example, from your own institution. That means, or that leads to the sponsorship from your employer. So for example, if you're working at a university in Indonesia or in other countries, and then they can provide you with a funding, then you can also use that for your PhD program. As for the tuition fees, some universities do provide a certain tuition fees that you need to pay, but keep in mind that not all of the universities has the same tuition fees. So it is yeah, it's different for every university. So you really need to check when you apply. Okay, so that's about the information about PhD. This is the PhD recruitment, which one of the upcoming events that will be held on 7 October 2023. It is a collaboration between Nuffic Southeast Asia and Academic Transfer, also supported by the Dutch Embassy in Indonesia. Just save the date, because here is where we invite all of the PhD candidates to apply, where you can provide your CV and profile, as well as your research proposal if you have it already, and then they will select it or do shortlisted candidates, where they will invite you to a one-on-one interview during this event. So you really need to apply, and then if you're shortlisted, you will get invited, and then in Jakarta, or you can also apply or suggest for an online interview. Next one, we also have a this upcoming event called Winner, the Week of Indonesian Netherlands Education and Research. It is an international conference where a lot of stakeholders are participating. We have a lot of sessions focusing on SDGs, but also education and research between Indonesia and the Netherlands. But we, for this year, because we are getting into more regional area, so we are also including those from other Indonesia as well. So if you are interested, please do go to the website www.winner.org.id. So that's it about the presentation. If you have further questions about these events or just PhD program in general, you can always contact us through our social media channels and email. All right. Thank you everyone for listening. Now for the exciting stuff, I would like to invite Mbak Elok to the stage. Hi, Mbak Elok.
Hi, Yami.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. And how are you?
I'm doing good as well. Thank you. So yeah, this is not the first time we have Mbak Elok actually to be our speakers, because last year we also have a study in Holland series where we have two speakers from University of Groningen campus Fryslân to tell us more about the research that you are currently doing. But today the topic is a little bit different because we are going to talk about regarding the PhD program, but also the journey that you've been through, right? Or doing currently actually. So yeah, please, Mbak Elok, because you have a presentation, please start and then let me know if you need help with the PPT.
Okay, I will try to share my screen. You see it?
Yes.
Okay. Wait a minute. Maybe some of the information that I'm going to present kind of overlapping with what you already presented, but yeah, I will just mention it like quickly, briefly, and we can talk more during the talk show later. And hello everyone's attending. Good evening in Indonesia. It's still afternoon in Netherlands, and I'm going to present in English so that we can reach out to more people in Southeast Asia. But please do not hesitate to ask me question in Indonesia. I can also answer in Indonesia, and later on we can also chat in Indonesia. Don't worry. So first of all, I will introduce myself. He has introduced me before. My name is Elok Dianike Malay. You can just call me Elok. At the moment, I'm a PhD student in the University of Groningen, Netherlands. I'm already in my 4th year, the last semester of my 4 years, hopefully. And my PhD research is about international students adjustment. So the adaptation of international students in the relation with cultural distance and cultural intelligence. I am supervised by 2 professors who are Professor Sabine Otten from social psychology and Professor Robert Fryslân from international education. My background is educational psychology. So it's a mix of social psychology and education. And I'm funded by LPDP through Budi, Beasiswa Unggulan Dosen Indonesia, because in Indonesia, I'm already a lecturer in the University of Indonesia, Faculty of Psychology. I attach my email address and my LinkedIn in case anyone wants to approach me to talk more about PhD in Netherlands. Please feel free to reach me. So I will talk a bit about why I chose Netherlands and why many Indonesian PhDs choose Netherlands. Of course, the first reason is because of its international education. So even though Netherlands has its own language, which is Dutch, that is being used for daily activities, but in the educations, they are mostly using English. So they offer so many English programs, and I can say a lot of countries in the Netherlands, in the Europe, a lot of countries in the Europe also admit that Netherlands is one of the best non-English speaking, English speaking countries. So it's non-English speaking, but they speak English very well, also in their daily life. And also it has many good reputations, universities with well-known scholars, including our future supervisors. So it's easy to approach them because when you, for example, in my case, when I search for my topic, the name of scholars that come up, mostly are from the Netherlands. So it's easy to approach them because they're out there. Also in a conference, for example, you can approach them. They have good reputation, high rank, even though it doesn't really matter. For PhD, it doesn't really matter about the times ranks, or you can mention any kind of rank, but it doesn't really matter. It's what matters is about whom you work with. If that person is the expert in that field, it sells more rather than the rank of the university. Also because from what I knew, I didn't know much before, but I know more now that in the Netherlands, the concept of PhD is research training. So it's a training to make you a real researcher, quote unquote. So they give you more independency, and they also expect you to publish in journals, for example, or at least in conferences, in international recognized conferences. So after you graduate from your PhD study, you, how to say this, but you are recognized as a real researcher. So you are already an independent researcher that can apply for a grant, for example, that can make your own research and stuff. So compared to other programs in other countries that I know, Netherlands offer somehow a higher level of challenge, but also a higher level of advantages once you finish the PhD. And also because it is located in Europe, of course, it's easier for you to have access to other universities and other research institutes, because from my experience in the Netherlands, you can easily apply for a exchange week to another university or a fellowship for a semester to another university. And it's so easy because they have many connections with other universities in Europe, especially for their Erasmus program and stuff. So it has additional benefit to stay in the Netherlands. And compared to some other big international education providers such as USA or UK or Australia, I can say that it is relatively cheaper in the Netherlands education, because basically there is no tuition fee. I may mention about tuition fee, but actually there is no tuition fee for doctorate program here. It's just if we are not paid by the university, then we need to bring our own research funding. That's it. But it's not like we need to pay to attend class and stuff. No, they offer that to us. We just need to bring our own funding for the research, basically. So it's way cheaper. I also mentioned about this regarding the fund. What do I mean by there is no tuition fee? Because actually PhD is not considered as student here in the Netherlands. We are considered as a worker. I mean, if we enter Netherlands university and we apply for the visa, they will give us worker visa. Why? Because we are considered as researcher. So we are like the assistant of researcher. And mostly the norm is PhDs are employee of the university. So the university give them salary and the university provides the funding for the research. But that happens only if we do the research of our supervisor. So if our supervisor, for example, have a project and we apply for it and we conduct the research or we are being part of the research, then we are employee PhDs. But the good thing is Netherlands also offer two other kinds of PhDs, which are students. That's especially for my university, in the University of Groningen. In other university, it is called associate PhDs. For them, they are not getting paid by the university, but they are getting funded by some associate institution. For example, like they are getting funded by the Erasmus program. So they are paid by the Erasmus program. They work in the university. So they receive scholarship either from the program or the institution or the campus in the form of scholarship, not salary. And there is also external PhDs. For external PhDs, they are mostly self-funded. They can be 100% external PhDs, which are PhDs who do their research in the Netherlands, 100% for the research they come to the Netherlands, but they are externally funded, or PhDs who are doing their research while also working in other institutions. There are this kind of PhDs. For external PhDs, they have no obligations in the term that they have no obligation to come to campus. They have no obligation to teach in the campus, for example. They can do that if they want to, but there is no obligation because they are not getting paid. They do not receive any scholarship in that sense. So there are many variations of PhDs in the Netherlands, which I think is very helpful because then you can choose in which way you want to be a PhD. We can talk more about that later. And I already mentioned this. I don't think I need to add more detail. I just need to add a bit about the research institute. So besides research universities, there are also institutes in the Netherlands that are allowed to receive PhDs. So usually they will have cooperations with universities that the students will be, or the PhDs will be registered as that university student, but they are actually working in the research of that institution. For example, in Water Technology Institute, mostly water technology because they are very good at that here in the Netherlands, but we cannot apply. So I mentioned that there are three types of educational institutions in the Netherlands: research universities, research institutes, and University of Applied Science. For the applied science, they do not offer PhDs. So we cannot apply PhDs to this kind of university. We can only apply to research universities or research institutions. Okay, so I can talk more about how. So I divided the process into three parts. the starting part, the process, and the finishing part. So with the starting part, I think this is where most of us have the challenges at this point, maybe how to apply. So basically, Amy mentioned about this. There are two types of application. One is you go to the websites or you go to the I don't know, like educational fair, educational like events, and then they offer this kind of position. So there are professors, there are associate professors who have grants and they want to conduct some projects, and then they are looking for the research assistant or the PhDs. You can apply through that. In that sense, you will work for them. So they are the one who decide what kind of projects are you going to do, what kind of projects or research that you are going to conduct in the 4 years. That's one way. Another way is you approach the professor yourself. So you have this proposal or research plan, quote unquote, and then you offer it to the professor and you ask them whether they want to be your supervisor. At the end, there is no guarantee that your project will be that one, the one that you offer. They can ask you to change, but you firstly approach them with your own proposal in a sense, and then you offer it to them. And you will ask whether they want to supervise you to conduct this research proposal. And then afterwards, if you already get accepted or already get some kind of green light from the professors, and then you go through the application process to the university. Usually the professor can help you. And here, I don't think there is any complicated process. Usually they will just ask your master degree proof and then your English skills proof, in the sense that you have your IELTS certificate, for example, or TOEFL certificates. And then they will process it and you will provide them the funding. By provide, I mean it's either you get the funding from your professor or you will show them that you have your own funding. For example, in my case, I have my funding from LPDP, so I offer it to my professor. I told my professor that I have my own funding. I'll bring my own funding. And then from there, they can proceed with my contract. So my contract will say that I will fund my own research in that sense. And after everything is settled, you sign the contract and then you start your PhD years. And more or less PhD years in the Netherlands is about conducting your research. So before I came here, I know a bit about it, but I didn't know that it will be this independent. So you don't come to classes, you don't have any, for example, attendance seat or stuff. No, it's up to you. It is all up to you. You will come and you will sit with your supervisor. You will together create a plan of what you are going to do in these 4 years. What kind of projects are you going to do? If you need to take classes, they can help you. They can offer you classes. There are classes that are offered for PhDs. You can take from the master programs or even from bachelor programs or summer school, winter school, workshops, or those kind of things. But you need to plan it together with your supervisors, and you need to, you need to make your own timeline when you will take these classes, what these classes are for and stuff. But there is no structured ways in doing PhD in the Netherlands. That can be so shocking for some people, but in other hand, it's also good because you can manage your own speed, your own timing and stuff. And then you are also expected to do some disseminations, either in the form of journal publications or conference presentations or other kind of disseminations. And at the end, usually it lasts for 4 years minimum. So 4 years is minimum, and it can last even longer. After 4 years, then you will write your own thesis book that consists of your research chapters, and then you will need to defend it in front of some committee, some reading committee. So that's how the PhD process in the Netherlands go. And yeah, this we already talked about it. There are many kind of funding. We can talk more about it later. And last part is I will share with you about what are the ups and downs in doing PhD in the Netherlands. Of course, for me, the benefit is first, I get to do the training to be a researcher. This is a good thing because before I came here, also in Indonesia, from what I know, from what I experienced, it is expected if you are a PhD student or if you graduate from being a PhD, then you are somehow people expect you to be an expert. Here, they always tell me that no, being PhD is not making you an expert. You are just a very certified researcher. So after this, you will be able to conduct your own research. Somehow it helps because it doesn't give you too much burden. It doesn't make you feeling like you know everything after you graduate. No, you don't know everything. You just know what you are doing. You just an expert in your research, but not in everything. So that's good. Somehow it's human for me. Also here, we have open and equal relationship with our supervisors. So even though they are called supervisors, I can sense that the supervisions is getting less and less as years go by. It's more like we are collaborating. So we can have a debate, discussion, we can have our opinion voiced out with our supervisors. So it is easier because we don't see them as someone that, even though they're professor, for example, my supervisors, both of them are professor, they're old enough, but I don't see them as someone that is way up there anymore. I see them as someone's more experienced, someone with more knowledge, but they are my collaborator. So I can ask them for help. I don't feel burdened to satisfy them in a sense. And then, of course, I mentioned about this before. Here you have so many opportunities to join any courses that you need, that you want, workshops, trainings, conferences, and stuff. And of course, it's easier and it's cheaper because you are already in Europe. So you can go to France without applying for visa, for example. You can go to Ireland, for example. I just came back from Ireland without too much cost compared if I do my PhD in Indonesia, of course. And then publication. Yes, this is good and bad thing. Bad thing, of course, it's additional burden. You don't have to make 4 publications if you do your PhDs in Australia, for example. But here, in my case, I need to publish at least 4 papers. Some have it less, some have it more. So it depends on how you discuss and plan with your supervisors. It's a burden in a way, but in other hand, it's also your motivations. It gives you energy to do the best of you, because I want to publish, and publication is not easy. So it gives you the experience for later on. International environment, here, there are so many people from every part of the world. So here you can, how to say, increase your intercultural competence. You can learn how to be world citizens, and you can learn about other people from other countries and how they work, how we communicate within each other. I think that's very good qualities to have as PhDs, because when you come back to Indonesia later, I think that's part that cannot be easily achieved if you do it in somewhere more homogeneous, I guess. And of course, the perk of being PhDs in Netherlands, I think, in my opinion, is how they are really appreciative of work and life balance. Here, if you feel sick, you can just tell your supervisor. If you feel that I need some rest, you can just tell them. They are very aware about mental health and stuff. And they also have so many self-development program for the PhDs, especially in my universities, because they know how important it is for PhDs to grow as a person, not only as researcher. So overall, it looks like I'm selling, but I do think PhDs in Netherlands is a good experience that if we have the opportunity, why not? We can just grab it. I think that's it. I give back the floor to Emmy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mbak Elok, for your presentations. Very insightful. And of course, yeah, we already hear some of your experience, but we would like to know more about you and your PhD program. So if I see here, there are already some questions about you and actually there's someone who would like to ask. Maybe we can, shall we start with the question?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first one is question about TOEFL, ITP. I don't know with PhD, but for masters and bachelors, for most of the Dutch universities, they don't. It's not really acceptable anymore in the Netherlands. They majority they will accept TOEFL, IBT. How about PhD program, Elok?
Honestly, I'm not really sure about it because in my university, they accept IELTS, as far as I know. Yeah, maybe I think because I told Amy earlier that here in the Netherlands they don't have national policy, so mostly it's based on the universities. So whether it's accepted or not, maybe the best way is for you to go to the university website and check, because every university has its own regulation. In some universities, they are more flexible. They don't really care about the certification. As long as you have good writing skills in English, they're good with that. But yeah, I think it's better to check with their website. But
Yeah.
IELTS is the safest.
Yes, and I think it's best also to just consult with them, because it's always best to directly contact, yeah, rather than asking I mean maybe from experience, but also to check with the current admission requirements. It's better to check with the admissions. Okay, so that's answered. Thank you, Mbak Elok. How about second question from Kiki? Ibu Kiki or Pak Kiki, he or she would like to hear your thoughts about switching subjects. Applying for PhD in the same area with our backgrounds is nice, but there are other interesting topics too in the market.
Yes, thank you, Pak or Bu Kiki or Mbak Mas Kiki. That's very good question, because as far as I know, there are many people doing that here. So, but of course, it cannot be too different. I mean, for example, if you are from law background and then you want to do some psychology research, I think that's kind of stretch too much. But I know some people. For example, one of my colleague here, his background was from statistic, but then his research is about tourism, by using the statistical approach to predict like how to manage sustainable tourism. So in that sense, it's different topic, but it still have connection with your background. Also here in our campus, we have this voice technology area of research in voice technology, for example. So in the Netherlands, there are so many interdisciplinary research. In those researchers, they want people from science engineering, but they also want people from linguistic. They also want people from computer science, for example. So I think it is not impossible. It's just that you need to find the most suitable one with your background. So as long as it has some, how to say, some connection, that it still can make sense that you are able to do the research, I think that's still possible.
It's actually is it similar with your current situation, Belok? Because I thought you had a background in psychology, and then but because you love so much in the field of internationalization of education, so right now you have a research regarding that topic. Is that true?
Yeah, yeah. Well, mine is not too. I mean, it is new kind of field for me, but not too further away because I'm from educational psychology. But yeah, indeed, my research is also interdisciplinary. So yeah, it's very possible, Pak Kiki or Bu Kiki.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Kiki or Bu Kiki, for your question. I hope that gives you a bit more insights. And next question is about supervisor candidate. So directly to the admissions, yeah, a little bit to the admissions process as well. So how, yeah, based on your experience, how did you find your own supervisor or your professor?
Okay, yeah, I can see that the question is kind of similar also with question from Maria Puspasari and also Syahrul Gandaya. So in my case, for example, I will answer them like together. I didn't go to like certain websites, of course. I don't think there is certain websites regarding supervisor. Usually what we do is either when we read a journal and we see the name of the writers or the editors, and then you try to look up these people. In my case, for example, I try to look up who are the people that already very much experience in the international education field. So I got the list of names, and then I try to pick. Well, some people, they didn't do it like me. They will just contact all of them at the same time. That's also fine, I guess. But in my case, I did it one by one. So I started with my supervisor, with Robert Coolens. I saw his name in the web page of his research center. And then I just approached him. I just sent him an email. I tell him that I introduce myself, and then I tell him that I want to conduct this kind of research. Of course, I already know what I want to do, not very specific, but just the big topic. And then I asked him, does he, have any plan of accepting any new PhDs? And at that point, he told me, okay, just send me one page of your research proposal, just one page. That's what he said. And then so I tried to come up with more than one page, but I sent it back to him, and then we have some discussion. And at some point, he thought, oh, this is very interesting. Like, so do you have any funding? And then from there, I told him that, well, I can get LPDP funding if I get accepted first to your university, because at the time that was nowadays you don't have, it's not an obligation to have LOA or letter of acceptance. At my time, it was an obligation to have LOA to get LPDP funding for PhD. So I asked my supervisor if he could get me the letter of acceptance. And then from there, he proceeded to help me to get into the university. So I gave him my IELTS score and stuff, and then I got the LOA, then I applied for LPDP. So that's in my case. In other people's case, for example, they send this email to several professors, not too many, of course. I don't think that's ethical. Maybe 2-3 professors at a time. If they answer you and then you answer them back, and just have some discussion and see whether you have this connection with the professor. And if you feel like, okay, this person is the right person to be my supervisor, and then you can continue the discussion with, do you want to accept me, or do you think you can accept me? And then you can, if they don't have, if, for example, in my friend's case, the professor said, like, I want to accept you as PhDs, but I don't have any grant recently. Then you can tell them about, like my case, like, well, I can get a grant from LPDP, but if, first of all, you accept me as your PhD and stuff like that. So I think the first one is to find the people that you think is the proper person to work with in your research topic. So you can find from your journal papers, or you can go to the university websites and just search the topic that you are interested in, and search the topic, and you can see a list of names of people that work in that topic, and then you can just approach them. Because here in the university website, they always have the email of every professor, or even PhDs. You can also go to PhD's website and then just approach them, like, may I know whom you work with? Like, what do you think about your supervisor? Do you think he or she want to accept another PhD? You can even go that way.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I agree with you, because sometimes we do get some inquiries asking about how do we start with finding the right professor or the contact points, right? It's very difficult sometimes, but actually it's pretty easy. Just go to their website, and then just if they don't have, if you don't know yet which professor you would like to pursue, you can always contact their department, right? Normally they will have a PhD coordinator per faculty, and then you can just contact them and then ask for advice. And then you can, for example, if you already know the topics, or better, if you already have the draft of your research proposal, then it's already really good, and then you can just send it to them. Then they can help you with, or assist with you with finding the right professor for you. But it's for them, it's always good if you already do some research, where you can always Googling their names, and then see if what kind of publications they have, journals, or the topics will be similar, or will be perfect for them to do the research. So then you can approach them in the end. So but also just curious, yeah, Mbak Elok, what did you write first to your professor in your email? How did you sort of interest him, or her? Is it him,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's him,
My second
Ramko, yeah.
supervisor. Yeah. Oh God, yeah, I forgot. I should have prepared this. I really
Yeah,
forgot. It's 4 years ago, more than 4 years ago.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
maybe like the points, like what
yeah,
did
yeah,
you
yeah.
first maybe introduction, because we also receive inquiries. If there's any templates, like email
Okay,
templates that we
yeah.
like, do we have to do introduction, and then yeah,
Okay,
what kind of contents that they have to put on the email, for example.
okay. Yeah, so I don't think there is like one pattern in email. What we need to know is that Dutch people, they are very relaxed. I mean, they have no hierarchy here, so they are okay with that, and they are straight to the point people. So we should not write a long email. That will bother them. They will prefer just write a short but so concise but efficient in a way. So I remember just vaguely, but I think what I did was I first introduced myself, so my name and then my position, of course, because I'm a lecturer. Somehow I think it will help me. So to tell them that I'm really serious because I'm already in the academic field. So I did sell my position at the time, and then I tell him that I'm really interested in international education because of what. So I just tell him like why now I'm going to this field, even though my background was not from international education. I'm interested in it because of what. And then I tell him that my plan is to do some investigation, some research on specific topic. So in this topic, and then I tell him like maybe because I have this experience of doing this kind of research, but in Indonesian context before, and now I want, so somehow I kind of sell myself in a way, but not too much. So just that they can, how to say, they can see that I do have the potential to be a researcher, but also I tell them my interest and why I contact them. And then I tell him that I contact you because I read your papers on this, I read your works on that, and I hope you can be my supervisors. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you. I think that's it. That was my first email. And then from there, yeah, we got to discuss more. And because my husband is also a researcher, I will also share his experience. In his experience, he also emailed the potential professor in that way, kind of similar. But in his case, he got rejected, quote unquote, because the professor then tell him that I don't think I'm the right person for that project, but I can recommend you to this and that. So in a sense, I want to say that do not be too afraid to get rejected, because sometimes we get the better supervisor from that person because that person knows more about people in their field and they can also recommend us to someone that may fit us more. I know some people who email 20 something professor. I think that's part of how it is to be PhDs, and do not take it personally. If they don't accept us, maybe they just think that, okay, now I already have too many PhDs, or I don't think I'm fit for that topic, or those kind of stuff. So just email them in a concise but polite.
Yeah. So yeah, I very agree. So yeah, for the first email is always have to be very informative but also concise, not
Yeah,
too many
yeah,
too many paragraphs, but yeah, and yeah, do your best, because yeah, just don't be afraid with rejections, because then uh at, at least they can always give you some recommendations for that. Yeah, so
yeah.
thank you, Elok, for your tips for writing the first email to professor. Okay, next. We have so many questions about
Sandwich program.
supervisor. Sorry,
The sandwich program, maybe.
the sandwich program.
Yeah,
Okay,
from Waluyo. Because I want to answer that
maybe.
if that's possible. I mean,
I think this really depends, yeah. From the university, whether they have this program or not. To be honest, I don't really have this specific sandwich program, but if I think my colleagues are here as well, if you can help out, write it down in the chat box. But if not, I would suggest you to actually search on Google first, because sometimes they do have a program collaboration with
yeah,
Indonesian universities.
yeah,
it's not a lot, but there are. I do know there are some campuses doing a joint sandwich program, but you do really need to check on that because they also have a certain program, not only maybe which faculty which has this kind of program. I hope that answers your question, yeah, Pak Waluyo. I'm sorry.
If I can add to that, I'm
Yes,
sorry,
please.
but I know that especially if you are working in universities in Indonesia, it is way more possible to have the sandwich program. So what you need to do is to approach your university. So it must usually start with between universities collaboration first. So from university can contact university here in the Netherlands, and then somehow we can arrange the sandwich program. And I do see that this can be next like future trending, because these days it is not easy for international students to enter Netherlands because so many housing issues and stuff. So they are actually very welcome with the sandwich program these days. In my
Interesting.
knowledge,
So it might be that they are welcoming international students through this kind of programs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Okay, thank you for that addition, Mbak Elok. And let's see, maybe regarding, okay, this one, I see a question from Ragil Sulisa. So it's Mas Ragil, yeah. Mas Ragil is already got a master degree from Twente University in communication studies, and he would like to continue his PhD degree there. So yeah, I think he already got his proposal, and then he start to approach. Maybe it's yeah, this question is already answered, yeah. So Mas Agil, you can always start with finding the right program or the right university, because you already been in the Netherlands, so you already know the market, right? So you can just start with visiting the website, and then you can find whether what kind of program or topics that you would like to do for your PhD, and then you can start from there. I think you can just start finding the professor in communication, for example. Sorry?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I also noticed that Ragil talked something about he or she never published before. Honestly, it's not really big problem. I mean, if you have ever published before your PhD, that's a good point. You can sell that in your CV, for example. But here, as I told you, PhD is considered as research training. So it just makes sense if you have never published before. So I don't think that's a big problem. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. So that it is from Elok. So it's not a problem. So just prepare first, and then you can see by yourself, yeah, from your experience. So I hope that answers. And
Scholarship, maybe.
Scholarship, yes, please, Belok. We have a lot of questions about
Yes.
LPDP Budi. So how did you start with LPDP Budi? Did you you've already mentioned that you approach the professor first, and then you apply for the LPDP, right?
Yeah. So
how long the process maybe from the start till the end?
Okay. Okay. So it's already more than 4 years ago.
We just
Yeah, but because we just accept one new PhD from Indonesia in my faculty just recently, so I got to talk to him and I know his experience also. So in LPDP recently it changed a bit. So in my case, for example, at the time when I apply, so in LPDP we always start with administrative selection, where we need to submit a lot of like documents, including like our master degrees document and stuff, also the letter of acceptance. But nowadays, there are two types of ways. There are two ways. So the first one, if you have the letter of acceptance beforehand, then you can just straight away go to the substantial selection, which is like the interview and stuff.
Interview.
But if you don't have the letter of acceptance, then you need to go to the scholastic selection. So you need to do some tests. So that's what I know in the recent situation. But so what to do if you want to go through the fast track with the LOA? So in that sense, once you get connected with your potential supervisor, you can just tell them about this LPDP. Many of professors here know about it in the Netherlands because there are many LPDP students here. So you can just bring up the topic to them that, you know, there is a potential for me to bring my own funding. In that sense, I will need your help to publish the university's letter of acceptance. So, and that has to be the unconditional letter of acceptance. So by unconditional means, you already guaranteed to be accepted. So usually when they publish that kind of letter of acceptance, they will ask for your master degree certificates first, your IELTS or TOEFL test first. So you already fulfill all of their criteria and you got your supervisors, and then they can publish the letter of acceptance. Because without that, you will have the conditional letter of acceptance. If it is not unconditional, then LPDP will ask you to go through the scholastic test once again. So that's how it is. After the scholastic test and then after the interview, if you get accepted, then you will just need to sign a contract with LPDP, and then they will give you, so what they provide is, they provide all the costs that you need for the research. So it's called a tuition fee or bench fee in LPDP, even though in the Netherlands they don't have tuition fee, but we do need research funding. So they will just put that research funding into the tuition fee. They will pay it from the beginning at cost, they will say. So no matter how much is needed. So you need to calculate it together with your supervisors. And then they will also give you living allowance. So like monthly allowance to live here, which is good enough compared to some others scholarship. From what I understand, it's good enough, especially recently they just raised it up. And then they will also give you health insurance, because here you need to be insured by Netherlands company because you are considered as employee. So you have to use Netherlands insurance, which costs quite a lot of money. That will be covered by LPDP. And then LPDP will also cover your conference. If you need to attend conference, they will cover for 2 times conferences, but of course with some regulations. There are regulations, you can learn more about that later. They will also cover your, sorry, I forgot.
Family?
Your family allowance, yes.
Yeah.
For those who are married or have children, you get family allowance for spouse and maximum 2 children, but only after your 2nd year. So in the first year, if you need to bring your family along with you, you need to pay for yourself. But after the 2nd year onwards, so 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year, LPDP will cover not much. Of course, it's only 1/4, I guess, only 25% of the total living allowance needed will be covered by LPDP. But from the experience here in the Netherlands, actually, the government provides so many benefits for everyone who lives here. So, for example, for people with children, you don't have to pay for school's fee, for example, if you want to put your children in the schools here. Or they will also give you some benefits. If you don't have enough money and then you need to insure your family, for example, they can give you insurance benefit or housing benefits. So there are many benefits. So in my humble opinion, I think it is not a problem to bring your family here to the Netherlands as long as you are already guaranteed as a PhD here. But of course, it's always safer to bring them after the 2nd year. That depends on your choice, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, they do have to still the 2 track where you already receive your LOA or you don't have the LOA yet. But it will, for example, if you don't have the LOA, you have a 1 step more rather the ones that you already have. So it's better if you approach the professor first and then maybe try the tips from Elok, yeah, to say that I can secure my scholarship if you can already give me a profile first, sort of a profile from the professor. But keep in mind, because if I know it correctly, the LOA that LPDP needs is from the admissions, right? Correct or not? Not from the professor, because sometimes professor also give a letter that they would like to be your supervisor, for example. But that's not the letter that we provide to the LPDP.
Yeah, they want us to provide the official letter. So at least it has the, how to say that in English, but kayak kalau di Indonesia ada kop surat universitas.
Head letter,
head letter of the university.
Okay, good to know. And there's a question actually regarding the amount of the scholarship that you've received from LPDP, because they only provide for max 4 years. Is that true?
Yes.
So what happens if you still have to do your research after 4 years?
All right, so I will just be open here. So in the Netherlands, the best, because I already read some questions also about whether it's enough or not. So in the Netherlands, the minimum wage or the minimum salary is around 1,300 something, let's say 1,400. Before, LPDP only gives us 1,200 per month. But now, just recently, they added, so they already increased it into 1,500. So in a way, that's enough. That's very good, I think, in my opinion. That's more than enough. Also, like I told you, if we don't have enough money to pay for our insurance or to pay for our housing, the Netherlands governments do provide some benefits, which you can learn later when you already live here and you already get your BSN or the citizens number here. They can help you. So I have no problem with that. So for daily life, I think there is no problem. But then what happened if you cannot finish in 4 years? Of course, because the minimum time is 4 years, you are expected, of course, the LPDP or other scholarship provider expected you to finish within that allocated time, 4 years. But what if you cannot finish in 4 years? For example, in my era, because I came here at the end of 2019, so in my first year, me and many of my colleagues, we were hit with pandemic, which hit us really hard, because here in the Netherlands, they had like total lockdown and stuff. So many of us couldn't really finish on time for years. There are people who need at least one more semester or even one more year. In that sense, we can talk it out with the provider, with the LPDP or other provider. Some gives us extension, not too long, maybe 3 months or 6 months, but they do give us extension based on personal situation, if you are really affected by the pandemic. If not, and then usually there are two options. One is that, well, if you cannot afford to live here by your own funding, your independent funding, then you go back to Indonesia and you can finish it from Indonesia. That's also possible. There is no problem, especially if you already work in those 4 years. I think the last part will be writing your thesis, and I think that can be done even from Indonesia. But if you don't think that I cannot finish it in Indonesia, I have to finish it here because in Indonesia I have so many works, for example, then you can talk it out with your supervisors. Like I told you, supervisors here are your collaborator. They're just, how to say, they're just your partner. So if you have problems, including about budgeting, about funding, you can talk with them, because in some of my friends' cases, then the supervisors will try to find some grant to help you, or at least they can ask you to teach, to help them as a teacher assistant, and then can pay you from that work, so that you can pay for your own living situations by working for them. So there are many situations that can be done as long as you are open to your supervisors and do not hesitate to ask for help. So they will try to help us, of course, because we already work with them for 4 years. They don't want us to fail. Like here, I can guarantee no supervisors want you to fail. They want you to finish. They want you to finish your PhDs and achieve what you came here for. So they will help you as long as you already showed them in that 4 years that you are really serious about this PhD.
Yeah. So, professor, you can always ask your professor whether, because they have networks, right? Amongst researchers, amongst scholarship providers, for example. So maybe if you cannot find your own funding, you can always ask them if they have connections to which can provide you or opportunity to find your own funding, basically. So yeah, that's a very good tips, Elok. I'm seeing my time right here. It's already 8 o'clock here, past 1 minute. But I would like to ask you, Elok, if you still have time, or do you want
Yeah,
more
I think I'm okay
questions?
because I see so many questions and
Yeah.
I do want to share about my experience. Hopefully it can help someone. So I'm fine. Maybe 15
Yes.
more minutes. Yeah, it's
15 more
fine.
minutes, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Elok. Okay, it's actually connected to the questions before regarding the scholarships. What is it? Yeah, the amount of scholarship that as already you get. Did you based on your experience, did you also receive it as a reimbursement, or how does it work with your scholarship?
With LPDP, yes. In the beginning, you need to bring your own money because they need you to submit the proof that you are already here and already registered here for them to be able to start giving you the money, the scholarship. Because they don't want anybody who cheats or staying in Indonesia while asking for money. So you need to be here first and then get registered here. And after that, you submit the proof to them and then they will reimburse everything that you have spent, for example, your ticket, your living allowance and stuff. But yeah, it is quite challenging, but usually it doesn't really take that long. If you come here while you already have your housing, like you know where to live, and then you already registered to the Gemeente, the professional, like the government professional state,
Municipality, yeah.
the municipality, yes, to the municipality, like within maximum 2 weeks, you will be able to receive your citizen's card, your BSN, the social security number, and then you report to the Embassy of Indonesia. And then once you have all those documents, and then you can just send it to LPDP, and usually they'll process it less than 2 weeks, as far as I experience. So yeah, maybe only the first month you need to somehow to prepare for your own money. Yeah, and as I told you, the price, like usually here the monthly cost is around 1,400 euros. Yeah, minimum. So that's much.
So that means for regarding visas and tickets, flight tickets, you also have to pay your own in advance.
Yeah, that or for ticket, I forgot about it. LPDP also offers to book tickets from them. If you book from them, then they will pay for you
Okay, I
right away. So
see.
you don't have to put your own money in that. So if you book from LPDP, then you don't have to use your own money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, that's a questions from Pak Kadung, ya. I hope that answered your question. And then we have this one. Oh, did you get any other funding outside your outside LPDP? Because I've heard you've mentioned funding about for your conference from the university.
Okay.
Maybe you can tell us about a little bit more about that.
Okay. So yeah, again, as I told you before, the policy here differs based on the university. So what I'm going to share is only in University of Groningen. So I cannot guarantee that it will be the same in other university. But in our university, every PhDs has their own research budget. So like in my faculty, for example, they already have like research budget and some kind of amount per year that you can use either to attend workshop or to go to conferences or for your research basically. And in my case, of course, because LPDP already paid for my tuition fee, quote unquote, in the beginning, maybe some of that budget comes from LPDP, but in some other colleagues of mine, they directly get it from the university. So in my university, all students have research budget, and then they can use that to attend conferences, for example. What we need to do is just to contact our graduate school and then tell them about our plan of attending conferences, and then submit the proof that we got accepted. We will present our project, and then they will give us the money to buy the ticket and then to book the accommodations. But LPDP actually also provides conference cost help in that sense, conference money if you cannot get from your university, as long as you meet the requirements. So they have more specific requirements. LPDP, for example, it has to be Scopus index, it has to have publication afterward and stuff like that. So you can also ask LPDP. But what I want to emphasize here, that we cannot get double funding. That's if you get LPDP, that's against the policy. So double funding means if, in my case, for example, I got from my university, then I cannot ask again to LPDP. If I ask more money to attend conferences for LPDP, that means double funding. But if I don't get from LPDP, of course I can get from my university. That's not double funding. So in that sense, we don't need to be, because I was too afraid in the beginning, like I didn't want to use my money from my university, but then it turns out that as long as I don't ask for more from LPDP, I only use my university funding, then that's fine. But if I get two sources of funding at the same time, that's double funding. That we cannot do. So there are those kind of situations also.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Elok. That's a question from Mbak or Ibu Renova. So I hope that answered your question. Let's see.
By the way, I'm so sorry. I think I wanted to answer one question, but
yes, please.
I end up deleting it. I'm so sorry to anyone. But I remember the questions is about like how to juggling between doing PhDs and become parents and stuff.
Oh yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay. In my experience is not that hard because I do not bring my family with me here. So in that sense, I may not be the right person to answer this, but I know from my other colleagues' experiences, like I told you, here in the Netherlands, they are very, how to say, they really respect families. They put a lot of respect to family business, and they really are aware of mental health. So work-life balance are important. So here, they do not, most of them. Some maybe still do, but you can always argue or you can always talk to them. Communication is the key. But here, they do not bother you after working hours. So I've never worked for my supervisor after working hours. I only work during my working hours. And they do not bother you during weekend, for example. So you can have your weekend for your family. So from my friends' experience also, here they have good educational system. They have good, how to say that, childcare system. So you can put your child into like child institution here or to kindergarten or to schools here. So during your working hours, your children will also be well taken care of by someone. And then after working hours, you can always spend quality time with them. And during weekend, you can have your own family time, your independent time. And that's what happened with a lot of PhD students in the Netherlands. So if you go to PhD students in the Netherlands website or page in Instagram or Twitter, I don't know, and then you see them posting like going somewhere during weekend, it's not because we have a lot of money. That's kind of a misconception here, but because we have the time. They do recommend us to go out. So my supervisor, for example, they will be mad if I don't take holiday. They always tell me, like every year when we have this yearly evaluation and we plan for the next year, they will always be mad if I don't put holiday in my calendar. So for them, you have to take holiday. When is your time with your family? When will you go home to Indonesia to meet your family, for example, something like that. So here, I think they are really, how to say, considerate and supportive of you to become like well-balanced people. So don't worry about having family here. Also, you can always manage. Of course, it's harder than if you are single, but it is manageable, I think.
It's harder when you're single, or if you're being a parent.
No, of course, it has if you're being a
Yeah.
parent. I don't know. That's in my opinion.
Yeah, it's an opinion, yeah. Okay, yeah, but yeah, yeah, their culture is very work-life balance. So
Yeah.
health mental is very how do you say? Yeah, it's very
Prioritize, I
important.
guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
prioritize. Yeah, they really prioritize your mental health. So it's very important to you know yeah, to keep your life balance between
Yeah.
work and
Mm.
your daily life, basically. Okay, so we also still have questions a lot. Do you see any other questions you would like to answer, Mbak Elok, that
There
you
is this
find it?
question from Nuffic about like very specific because he is going to have interview with Professor in Groningen
Mm-hmm.
next week. Good luck for you, Taufik.
Oh,
And my tips will be just be yourself. First, of course, always be yourself. Because if we try to be someone else and you arrive here and you don't do or you don't look like what you were in the interview, then both of you will be disappointed. Like the supervisor will be disappointed, you will be disappointed because you will need to pretend to be someone else all the time. So I don't think that's good. Just be yourself. But of course, you have to be confident also. You have to be confident that one, you have the skills. And even though you don't have the skill, you want to learn. So just emphasize it to them that I do have the skill, or I do want to learn if I don't have enough skills, and that you are really interested in the project and you are committed to it. I think that's the most that's the best tips I could give. Like other than that, just be yourself. Do not be too, how to say, don't be too nervous, don't be too serious, just be casual.
yeah.
Because they will also consider whether you are the right person that they can communicate to. That's what I told so many times. Here, communication is the key with your supervisor. If you're too serious and you just answer in like 1-2 short sentence, they may think that maybe I cannot communicate with this person. That may not be good for long term. So it's good to have good communication.
Yeah, sometimes they just don't really want to, yeah, they really want to know about this person, right? So that's why they
Yes.
invite you to the interview to
Yes.
see if you can communicate it very well about your research proposal, but also about yourself. So
Yes.
make sure
That's true.
to communicate it well. Okay. We still have a lot of questions, good questions actually, Mbak. How we do this? There's someone asking about research proposal.
Mhm.
Maybe this is also interesting because how his or her question is how many pages does the
Mhm.
research proposal should be?
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
2 pages
Yeah.
short paper or complete full proposal?
Okay, it also depends on what your potential supervisor asked you to give them. Like for example, in my case, my potential supervisor, which is my supervisor now, wanted me to give him like 1 page. I gave him more than 1 page. It was like, I think mine was 5 pages, which
Yeah.
is not really good example. Thankfully, he was okay with it because if they just want you to give them 2 pages, I think 3 is the max. Just do not give them too much because I didn't know it before, but now I know that if they ask you like 1 or 2 pages, that means they don't have that much time. So if you give them like a very long proposal, they will not have the time to read it. So it doesn't mean that they don't interested in your research. It's just that they don't have that much time. So if they ask you for 2 pages, please try to make it 2 pages. I got lucky because he didn't reject me right away because I give them more pages. So I don't think it should be very long because if it's very long, I don't think they have time to read it. And also, in my opinion, if it's too detailed or too long, it may also show that you are too too set in a stone. Like you are already very set in that topic that you cannot change because there are many cases that you need to change your proposal later on. So they are interested in your research, but they may want you to do another kind of methods, for example, or they want to add another variables, for example. So if you are too detailed, and already make it very long, they may think that, okay, maybe it's hard to work with this person because they are already set on stone. So it's very good to show that you are specific, but you are still flexible, because that's what happened. Like almost every one of us here changed their proposal once they are here a bit, maybe not much, but still it somehow will be changed, because of course it cannot just be beneficial or interested for us. It's also need to be interesting for the supervisors. So it's good to make it well balanced.
And don't be to be very repetitive, right? Because
Yeah,
sometimes we
yes.
tend to write the same meaning, but with the different
Yeah, true.
right?
Yeah, true. That's why shorter may be better, because when we write shorter, then we will be more efficient. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, Elok, so we've come to the end of this session because it's already 15 minutes, like you've said before. So I'm really sorry for everyone who's answered whose questions is not yet answered, but I would like to invite you to give us an email, for example, if you still have questions, or you can always contact Mbak Elok ya on LinkedIn, because she also provided you with a link. Later on, I can, is it okay if we shared your presentation material?
Yes,
Yes.
of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then we can send a thank you email and then provide that presentation material. Other than that, I see, because there are also a lot of admissions questions, requirements. For this type of questions, you can always check on the website of the university. So because it depends on every university that you would like to pursue. So that's why you need to check in each website. Last word, any last tips and tricks, well, for the participants here?
Semangat. like doing PhD, I think it's kind of similar with finding a job or finding a partner, I guess. It depends not only on luck, but also on suitability. So if you don't get one, maybe it's just not suitable, not because you're not good enough. You are good enough. It just, we need to find the suitable. Semangat.
Yeah, I see someone commenting on the Q&A, rejection means redirecting. That's a good one, right?
True.
So you really need to try again until you finally got the position.
Indeed.
Okay. Thank you so much, Elok, for
Thank you.
being our speaker for today. Hope everything's according to your liking, and yeah, so hopefully the information here is very insightful for all of the participants. And don't forget that this is not the end of the series, because we still have a lot of speakers who will be joining us. This week we have another colleague of Mbak Elok, actually. It's Mas Eko Rahmadian from University of Groningen. Yeah, he has some other perspective for the source of funding, because he got the funding from the university. So for those of you who are planning to go to Groningen, you can join again, and then yeah, to see his experience. Yes, so thank you very much, Elok. Good luck, success with your PhD and for your conference tomorrow. And we'll see each other in another occasion.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a good night.